Today, I am going to share a story with you that will leave you deep in thought. Raghav was born in Haryana. His mother is a government employee, and he has an elder brother. Unfortunately, their father passed away when Raghav was only 2 to 3 years old, so his mother raised them with great difficulty. Raghav grew up in Haryana and was well cared for, never lacking anything. They lived in a house for about 20 to 22 years, but, as they say, to a landlord, rent is all that matters. In 2022, when the rent of that house increased, the owner asked Raghav's mother to raise the rent. She reminded him that it had already been increased the previous year, but the property was so in demand that the luxurious house could fetch any price. Despite their requests, the landlord remained firm, and Raghav's family had to move to another house nearby, in Lal Mahal, Bengal. Welcome to Horror Stories. I'm Ankur Pundit, and here, we dive into chilling real-life paranormal encounters shared by those who've lived through them. Your feedback fuels our passion, so keep those comments coming. Now, let's get back to the story. At that time, Raghav's elder brother's marriage was being arranged. The family believed that everything would be fine now that they had moved to a new house. Shortly after the move, they organized a quick function with a few relatives and got Raghav's brother married. His new sister-in-law was a kind person. However, in their hurry to move, they had not performed any traditional ceremonies for the new house, like a Bhumi Pujan, a ritual to bless the land. Soon after moving in, strange incidents began to occur. The first change they noticed was in Raghav's brother's behavior. Raghav shared that his brother had never consumed alcohol or non-vegetarian food in his life, but after moving into the new house, he suddenly began drinking alcohol excessively. Not only that, but he started bringing home dishes like chicken, mutton, and fish, which he had never eaten before. Raghav's mother didn't say much because his brother's wife had already voiced her concerns about these changes. Before the marriage, it had been confirmed that the groom didn't drink or eat non-vegetarian food, and Raghav's sister-in-law had witnessed this firsthand at their previous house, where there wasn't even a single bottle of alcohol. But after moving into the new property, alcohol bottles started lining up, and Raghav's brother began drinking daily. Arguments became a regular occurrence in the house. After living in the new house for just a couple of months, Raghav's sister-in-law gave an ultimatum to her husband, saying that if he didn't quit drinking, she would leave him. Despite this, the arguments and tension continued, and eventually, Raghav's sister-in-law left him. This caused further chaos in the house, and his brother started drinking even more and consuming more non-vegetarian food. The atmosphere in the house became so tense that whenever Raghav or his mother tried to stop his brother, he would become violent and destroy things in the house, smashing the TV, breaking tables, and throwing things around. As time passed, the situation worsened. The family faced heavy financial losses due to the damages, and things spiraled out of control. After some time, Raghav's brother bought a new car. Just 6 months later, while returning from an outing, Raghav's mother received a phone call, informing her that her son had been drinking and crashed the car. The caller warned her to come quickly before the police registered a case. They brought Raghav's brother back and tried to explain things to him, but he wouldn't listen. He smashed the car windows and damaged the vehicle severely. At home, he would throw things around, causing a mess, and Raghav and his mother were deeply troubled by his behavior. They kept wondering what had happened to him to make him act this way. Raghav and his mother were frustrated and couldn't understand why Raghav's brother was behaving so destructively. During this time, Raghav, who used to sleep upstairs in his room, decided to move to the hall because his brother's loud snoring after drinking was disturbing his sleep. His brother would also frequently get up at night to use the bathroom, and the sound of the flush would keep Raghav awake. So, Raghav decided to sleep in the hall that night for the first time. He was sitting in the hall using his phone peacefully when, around 12:30 to 1 a.m., he glanced at the stairs and was startled. It seemed like there was a face staring at him from the stairs. Raghav quickly sat up and shone his phone's flashlight toward the stairs, but no one was there. His heart was racing, and he felt deeply unsettled by what he thought he saw. He tried to lie down again, but as soon as he closed his eyes, He felt as if something was moving around him. After a while, when he managed to fall asleep, he experienced sleep paralysis. Raghav later said, "Akshay, you won't believe it, but I tried to wake up, and it felt like something was holding me down. I struggled to move, and when I finally did, I saw a white shadow rushing upstairs to my brother's room." Raghav immediately jumped up, ran after the shadow, and followed it upstairs to where his mother and brother were sleeping. But when he checked the room, there was no one there. He looked to the right and saw something in the other room. When he turned on the light, it seemed like something was moving to the left, and when he looked left, it appeared as though something moved to the right, just like how it happens in horror movies. This was terrifying for Raghav. He couldn't sleep all night and was just waiting for the morning to tell his mother everything. When morning came, and his mother was getting ready for work, Raghav told her, "Mom, I couldn't sleep all night because I felt something strange and scary. Please believe me, there's something in our house." His mother brushed it off, saying, "It's just that this house doesn't suit you, and you're missing your old friends from the previous place. I'll talk to you about it when I come back from work." That morning, Raghav's brother woke up as usual, went out, and by evening, he started drinking again, sometimes even drinking in the morning. The family was already troubled by his behavior, but Raghav couldn't shake the thought that something was wrong with the house. When his mother returned that evening, Raghav insisted, "Mom, please sleep with me in the hall tonight. I will prove to you that there's something in our house." His mother agreed, saying, "Fine, I'll sleep with you, but I know there's nothing here. You're just imagining things." That night, Raghav's mother slept in the hall with him, and nothing happened. The next morning, Raghav was starting to doubt himself, thinking maybe it was all in his head. But he asked his mother to sleep with him in the hall again the following night. This time, his mother agreed, although she warned, "You know how your brother is. If something happens, like he slips in the bathroom, it could be a problem." Raghav pleaded with her to just stay for one more night, promising that if she didn't feel anything, he wouldn't ask her again. So that night, they both slept in the hall. The next morning, Raghav's mother finally admitted, "Son, I think you were right." She had also seen a face staring at her from the stairs, just as Raghav had described. This deeply frightened both of them. Meanwhile, Raghav's brother continued his bizarre and violent behavior. He would storm into the house, destroy things, and demand money from his mother. If she refused, he would go into a rage. Raghav was becoming more and more depressed by the situation at home, and he started feeling like he might need to resort to the same habits as his brother. Raghav, who had never been involved in such things, eventually gave in and began drinking and eating non-vegetarian food, following in his brother's footsteps. Their mother, now feeling completely isolated and alone, didn't know how to handle the situation anymore. Raghav was trying to cope with the chaos at home, but it was becoming increasingly difficult for him to manage everything. But their trust in that house had completely vanished because, even though Lord Thakur was present in their home, whenever they tried to light a lamp for worship, it wouldn't burn properly. They would light it, leave the room, and come back to find that the lamp had extinguished. Something or the other would always happen. One day, Raghav shared with me, "Ankur brother, I was sleeping when suddenly I smelled something foul, as if a dead body was lying right next to me. I ran to check, but there was nothing." Raghav was deeply depressed, thinking, "Is it just me feeling this? Or is there really something in our house?" These things continued for some time. After a while, there was a wedding in the neighborhood, and Raghav's mother was invited. She went to the wedding while Raghav and his brother were at home, preparing to sleep. Raghav's mother came back from the wedding, bringing a priest with her. She explained, "This priest is highly accomplished, and I brought him to look at our house. I told him about our losses and your behavior." The priest entered the house and sat down. Raghav's mother brought him some water, but the priest immediately said, "I won't drink water from your hand or this house because I can see two spirits here, a male spirit and a female spirit wandering in your home. They are plotting to kill you. You must vacate this house as soon as possible, or one of your sons might die." Hearing this, Raghav's mother was shocked, But as they say, when you're already struggling in life, you can't stop your routine. Even after hearing all of this, they had no other option because their financial losses were so severe they couldn't even afford milk. Somehow, they managed to pay rent. Raghav told me, "Ankur brother, I don't want to hide anything. When these things happen to us, the losses are tremendous. Our car was damaged, our TV was broken, and my brother caused a lot of damage. They were spending money on drugs and were stuck in madness." Later, one of Raghav's mother's distant relatives, who had heard about the ongoing troubles, called her and asked, "Sister, what's happening that you're facing so many losses?" Raghav's mother explained that there was something wrong in the house. That relative, who also had some spiritual abilities, said, "Don't worry, I'll come by tomorrow and see what's going on." When the relative came to the house, he immediately saw something and said, "Sister, there is definitely something wrong with this house. Vacate it as soon as possible." That relative was so frightened he didn't even step inside the house. Raghav's friend, who used to visit the house, would always leave the house and wait outside if Raghav left him alone, even though he wasn't aware of the situation. When Raghav asked him about it, the friend said, "Bro, I don't know what it is, but something in your house always feels like it's staring at me." Raghav kept this to himself, thinking they had no choice but to stay in that house. Everything continued like this, and Raghav thought, "We'll deal with whatever comes our way." But one night, something happened that made it impossible for Raghav to stay in that house any longer. Raghav shared, "Ankur brother, I mustered up the courage to sleep in the hall, thinking that with so many priests coming to our house, doing all these rituals, the dark entity might leave." He explained that he was sleeping in the hall when he saw a man dressed in white. That man, wearing white clothes, looked at Raghav and shouted, "Get out of my house! This is my house. If you and your brother and mother don't leave, either you or your brother will die, or we will kill your mother." When Raghav heard this, he was so terrified that he lost control of his bladder. He ran to his mother and told her everything, and within 2 days they moved out of that house. Raghav still has friends in that area, and when he talked to them, they took him to the oldest residence in that neighborhood. Raghav told them what had happened and how they had experienced so many losses. Those residents said, "Son, you're lucky you made it out alive. No one has ever lived in that house for more than 3 or 4 months, and those who did never came out alive." Raghav asked, "What do you mean?" They explained, "That house was built on top of a cremation ground, and before you, no one ever stayed there for more than 3 months. You're lucky. It could be that your late father was protecting you. Otherwise, we've always heard of deaths from that house. You are the first people to make it out alive." After hearing this, Raghav was shocked. He told his mother everything. They moved out of that house in 2023, and believe me, even though everyone suffered during COVID, Raghav said, "Ankur brother, we had a couple of rough months, but after that, everything got better for us." Raghav's brother endured the most suffering because, as they say, the eldest son is the first to face such difficulties. His brother was not acting on his own. He was being controlled by those entities. Sadly, not long after, Raghav's brother was diagnosed with cancer, although his treatment is ongoing. I pray to God that he recovers. But now, he has quit drinking, and though his wife didn't return after leaving, Raghav and his mother are working, and things are much better at home. The moral of the story is, whenever you move into a new house, you should first perform a groundbreaking ritual and offer prayers. If you ever feel negative energy, don't ignore it and move into a place just because it seems affordable. Think about why no one else is living in that house at such a low rent. Perhaps someone else knows something about the land that you don't. The entities that haunt houses don't usually bother people unless they are disturbed or someone brings them into the home. This story came to me, and I couldn't stop myself from sharing it. Whenever you move into a new house, perform a ritual and be cautious. Sometimes, a house's secrets can bury you, so be careful. Key learnings. 1. Trust your instincts. If a house gives you bad vibes or negative energy, take it seriously and avoid moving in. 2. Perform spiritual cleansing. Always perform rituals like a groundbreaking ceremony, Bhumi Puja, before moving into a new place to ward off negative energies. 3. Some houses have dark histories. Be cautious about homes that seem too cheap or vacant for long. There may be a hidden reason. 4. Spirits can linger. Entities may not disturb unless provoked or bound to a place. Understanding this can help avoid unnecessary harm. 5. Family protection. Raghav believed his late father's spirit may have been protecting them, a reminder that unseen forces might be watching over us. Before we wrap up, I kindly ask for your support. Subscribe to Horror Stories and hit the bell icon to be the first to catch our latest updates. Stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.